Welcome back to another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. Kaye Putnam, head of marketing for Freewyld and Freewyld Foundry here, and I am back with Eric Moeller, the CEO of both of those companies. Welcome back,
Hello.
Eric. Eric is currently recording in a closet.
I have 3 babies under the age of 5 in this house running around screaming. We're on a big Moeller family annual reunion, and this is the only place that I think that the kids don't know about. So hopefully we'll get through this podcast. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. The visuals aren't that attractive, but at least the audios will be good.
Yeah, we are here and it's going to be a great episode. We're going to be talking about STR conferences today. Eric, what has been your experience in the past with attending conferences?
Oh man, I've been to so many different conferences. Just throughout the years. But for our industry, the short-term rental industry, there's not a lot of, they're always hit or miss, right? They're always hit or miss as far as like the education wise. I think, short-term rental space, it was birthed obviously from the vacation rental industry, and that industry was a bit more older school, if you will, compared to like modern day conferences. And with short-term rentals like really starting to grow, we're starting to see the events starting to evolve. Yeah, they're hit or miss. The whole reason why I'm business partners with Jasper is I was going to all the different conferences, and we were finding more value in the hallways or at the bars than in the room. So we decided to put together a mastermind, fly people together, and just like create like that sphere versus the events. With all that said, we're starting to hit the conference scenes again, which is going to be very fun and exciting. I got one coming up here in a couple of days. I'm very excited about. It's in one of my favorite parts of the country. But yeah, I would say they're hit or miss, but the most valuable parts are in the hallways, like connecting with the people that show up to the events versus the content from the events. That's my personal experience, at least.
Yeah, personally, I am a newbie when it comes to the short-term rental specific conferences, but conferences in the past, I've had the same experience. I feel like there's only so many nuggets that you can get in those little 1 hour, even keynote sessions. Like there's a lot of inspiration, but it's not as meaty as you want it to be, or at least that's what I felt like when I was in the audience. But the connections, my goodness, are incredible. So yeah, let's dive into that. So you are literally going from Camp Moeller to IMN in, is it Salt Lake City, Utah? Is that where it is?
Park City. Yeah, Park City, Utah. Yeah, which I'm very excited about. That's actually where Freewyld was cultivated and was in the mountains of Park City. So it's awesome to be able to like full circle now, going back there to represent Freewyld and what we're doing. I'm going to be running a panel on brand and storytelling within the short-term rental space. So I feel like it's a full circle going back there. Let's talk about like the hacks of events, I think, for CEOs that are listening to this. And one of the people that are going to be on our panel is head of marketing for Sojo, which is a products brand within the short-term rental space, right? For short-term rental events, what I've found, there's 3 major hacks when you're going to any type of event. Is like, number 1 is the network. Who are you going to connect with? And I'm spending my time now kind of mapping out who's going to be there, who I want to meet with, reaching out to them ahead of time on LinkedIn, and just like setting up coffee dates, if you will, when we're there. And then work in the rooms, like really work in the room, seeing who's on stage and who's really bringing value. Asking the people that you meet, who in this room do I need to meet? Like who are the movers and shakers right now? That's where I like to spend most of my time. I do like to sit into events or, talks and listen to certain people, but I spend most of my time trying to meet people and network and all of that. Number 2 is setting up meetup points, right? Is like reaching out to all these people and cultivating a space for people to come together. So every time we do this, like we'll host a dinner, or we'll host a cocktail hour, or something like that, just to get people together and network. You become a connector in the room, which is great. And then number 3 is if you can get on stage, right? Like that's the most important thing. Like get on stage, promote your company, talk about the things that you're doing, educate as best as you can. Those things are going to dramatically change the value you're going to get out of those events.
Amazing. And, we got business cards printed too. So that's just a kind of a given, if you will. I know that you are actually more introverted, which may come as a surprise to people who are listening to the show. How do you prep like the day of, like when you're on property, getting ready to attend, like how do you manage your energy? How do you think about it? Like when you wake up in the morning? at the event?
Yeah, I'm very introverted. It's kind of funny. I get fully like my energy just gets zapped when I'm around a lot of people. I don't know why. I love being around a lot of people and I love like speaking from stages and networking and all that. But yeah, I just get zapped to where I need to just go back and just like lock myself in a room for a little bit and just do my thing and just like cut off from humans. Again, I've been to so many events. I started going to events when I was 16 years old, right? So that's when I was introduced to Amway back in the day. Like that was my whole introduction to entrepreneurship was Amway / Quickstar. So they started inviting me to those events and I got part of someone's downline and then started networking and try to get other people in my downline, all that stuff. But that introduced me to going to different events and learning and networking with people. Now what I do, I just try to be very particular with my energy on who I try to connect with, right? Especially the days that I'm speaking. Always start with an intense workout to move that energy. But then two, I'm very intentional. I'm not just showing up and wandering around. I know exactly who I'm going to go see if I am sitting in a room. And I know I'm setting up individuals that I'm going to meet. So I'm scheduling my times correctly. Right. So I'm not just showing up and doing my thing. Actually, one thing that I learned from Will Guidara, the author of Unreasonable Hospitality. He headlined the last IMN event I spoke at in Nashville. I think that was like 2 years ago. So he was the keynote speaker on unreasonable hospitality. I was on a panel right after that to talk about unreasonable hospitality in short-term rentals. So I knew he was going to be there. And there's two things. Like one, I reached out to him and told him how much I appreciated him, connected with him and all that. And to my surprise, he immediately responded saying like, hey man, I really love your brand and what you're building. I would love some time to meet with you before I go on stage. So he set up a time and it was awesome. I got to meet him behind stage and we had this awesome conversation about unreasonable hospitality and Freewyld and all this other stuff. He did his thing and he left. But what I learned about him, and this is what I'm actively trying to do in events now and speaking, he lives in New York City. This was in Nashville. For his speaking gig, he jumped on a plane, flew to Nashville, had a car pick him up, drive him to the event. He met with me, spoke on stage, got off stage, met with 3 other people, jumped back in his car, on his plane, and back home. And so he was very intentional with who he connected with when he was there. And he was very intentional with the time and energy that he put into this. And, I see the other side of this is like a lot of people show up to these events and they're just part of every single event. They're part of every single speaking thing. They're trying to talk to everyone. They're partying, they're drinking, and nothing really develops from that. Mm-hmm. There's a different energy versus like the connection I was able to have with Will. I'm kind of thinking through like, why would Will want to meet with me before he spoke in front of this crowd? And what I recognize is like, he's intentionally trying to connect with brands that he really liked and wanted to learn more about. He met with 4 people, spoke, and he was home the same night. The reason I share that is like, I think everyone who's going to these events have to like really figure out how to work the room in their way, but doing it intentionally. It's supposed to be all about business and learning. So that's what I'm going to attempt at this upcoming event. We're meeting some of our RPM clients. We're going to be taking them out to dinner, which is going to be a lot of fun. Potential clients, we're going to be meeting there. And then, of course, the movers and shakers that are in the room, people that are doing something incredible in the space.
And I can imagine when you put that intention in and at least something about the people that you're intending to meet with or talk to, the conversation isn't going to be as awkward. Like you don't have to be like, yeah. Hey, how was that speaker for you?
Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah. What's your business? Do you have any tips that have worked for you in the past if you don't have that insight? So if you do happen just to be in conversation with somebody in a hallway, how do you connect deeply with them in a short period of time?
I try to avoid the whole question of like, hey, what do you do? And there's nothing memorable about that type of conversation, right? But there's 2 questions that I love to ask all the time that gets people actually thinking. And it's also a pattern interrupt, right? Is like the number one thing is, what are you working on right now that excites you the most?
I love that one.
So that question gets people, they're like, oh, that's not the what do you do thing. It's like, what am I working on that excites me the most? It actually gets them to think. And then you're sitting there and like, I'm always very intrigued because it could be anything from I'm scaling this business and we're doing this thing to me and my wife are going to the beach tomorrow. Right. And it's like, we worked really hard to carve out the time to go to the beach. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like, I didn't realize, like, I wasn't expecting that response. So I always like that. It's like, hey, what excites you the most right now? What are you working on right now that excites you the most? And then, you have an authentic conversation. And then my last question always is, hey, is there any way I can support you? When I ask that question, I'm truly interested on how to support that person, if I can make any connections or do whatever. But that also is such a memorable question for the people that you're truly trying to make a impact with. So
I
yeah,
love
I love those questions. I started, someone asked me those when I first got into the entrepreneur house a long time ago. I'm like, man, that I've never had questions from a stranger get me thinking so fast. So I'd love to bring that forward. So I highly recommend that to anybody. Like anytime you meet somebody, it's like, what excites you the most right now? And how can I support you?
How are you going to answer those questions if somebody asks you? And I imagine
That's a good question. I mean, the thing that excites me the most, I mean, it's so hard to answer those questions for me right now. There's so many things. Like being in this house with my family, I've been sharing what we're working on. I live in California. My parents are in Florida, sisters in Florida, brother and his family is in Jersey. Everyone's kind of spread out and they kind of know what we're doing, but they're disconnected from it. So now that we have a week together to kind of share all of this, I'm just like, hey, I'm doing this thing with this exercise and I'm really excited about it. And I'm able to do 8 pull-ups now. And I've been working on that for 2 years, right? And I'm excited about what we're building in Freewyld Foundry and the results that we're getting for people. The fact that like we're building a business that's actually scaling with incredible clients, incredible results, incredible team, right? Like all that stuff just freaking lights me up. And then not to go into too much detail, but the, exploring this hotel deal in San Diego for Freewyld is super exciting. I don't want to share about it too much because it's so early and it can go either way. But yeah, so I don't know. Depends on where I'm at that moment, what I would respond to. There's so many different things that excites me.
I love that. What
Yeah.
kind of value do you ask for if somebody reflects that question back to you?
So like it depends on the situation and the person, right? Because I like to lead with that question and I'm hoping that I get that question back as well. Right. So if it's a connector in the room, I'm asking them to connect me with the next best person. It's like, who do I need to talk to? Like, who can I learn from? Who's growing a real business? Who's like really shaking up the industry? Who's solving major problems? I want to learn from this person. Who should I connect with? Or, it's like, hey, if you know any operators that could use the help from RPM, like that qualify, I want to talk to them. And it depends on the challenge that comes up. That's why I love that question because it pops up and it all depends on the individual that we're talking to.
I get a sense like you want to ask for something that's relatively easy to do right in the moment, if possible, as opposed to like, yeah, I'll get back to you because that doesn't happen as often as we would like.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, it's all about being authentic, right?
Yeah.
And being real in the moment. So whatever comes up, but I do recognize that people don't know how to answer these questions because they're never asked this question. They're typically asked, what do you do? And then like, give me your card so we can stay in touch because there might be some synergy between what we do. And it's like, bro, everyone's going to share that. Everyone says the same thing. Where's the synergy? And it's like, if you just lead with curiosity of wanting to learn and really lead with the heart to wanting to give, that's where you build memorable connections with people.
Amazing. And then what do you do post event?
Sleep.
Hibernate.
Events wipe me out for sure. What I've learned through this is like to take a notebook with me. And after each event, I just jot down my experiences, who I connect, what I learned, what stood out, what new products, anything that's in my head, I try to write it down. And then when I'm back in the office, I do my follow-ups immediately, right? So my follow-ups and implementing anything that I've learned from those events. So, and by the way, for everyone who's listening to, it's like, in my opinion, the best events in the short-term rental space right now are IMN. I'm hearing a lot about VR Nation. I haven't been there, but I'm hearing that VR Nation is growing. It's very powerful. It's authentic. And then of course, VRMA. Like VRMA is always up and down as far as like the speakers and all that stuff. But we see like the tide is changing a bit. I think the last couple of years have hit VRMA pretty hard. And now they're kind of shaking it up. Like we're speaking at VRMA, which is super exciting. We can talk about that.
Yep.
But like I see that they're shifting a bit. But the number one value that I get from VRMA is like, they're the best of the best. They've been around forever. They bring the entire industry together.
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, it's massive. And it's like some of the greatest relationships I've have and built came from just networking at VRMA. So I just highly recommend everyone just like sign up for the membership, go to the events. It's just worth being in the room. And then, of course, if you have something powerful, if you're shaking things up, you have value to bring, network to be able to get on the stage or in a breakout session. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about our session. So BRMA in Vegas coming up this fall, we got invited to teach an interactive workshop about revenue management, which we're super excited about. Just the way that they pitched it to us shows that they're trying to freshen up the curriculum and the value that they're bringing, because they wanted to make sure that we weren't pitching, which wasn't a goal of ours, that we were bringing people along on the journey and really interacting with them through the workshop. So we're just geeked out and super excited. Let us know if you are planning on being at BRMA in Vegas. Anything you want to add to that upcoming event, Eric?
Yeah. So again, like we started this podcast with talking about like the number one challenge with these events is that the rooms aren't that valuable as far as like the speakers to the audience. It's very difficult to sit in a room over and over again when someone's talking at you, or these boring panels where people are just like answering quick questions. You can't really go into depth. And that's the problem. The way that people consume education now, it's like in-depth, long conversations, right? You see the most popular podcasts in the world are these long form, in-depth conversations. And you can't really do that at events, or they haven't figured out how to do that at events yet. So when we were approached to do a breakout session for VRMA, the number one thing was like, we want the attendees to action something and leave with a result, right? We want it to be in depth. Yeah, of course, no pitching and all that stuff, no grandstanding. It's all about like, what can we teach the people in the room that they can have a result? So we spent some time with Jasper and the team, like really getting clear, like what's one thing that we can teach everyone, regardless if you have one listing or 100 listing plus, what's one thing that we can teach you and then have you implement right then and there in the room and then leave with an actual result. So I'm very excited about that because like we got really clear on what that one thing is. We'll save it for everyone who's in that room. So if you guys are listening, make sure that you are in Vegas and you sign up for our event, our breakout session. I think it's called Pricing Power, right? What's the title?
Yep. Pricing Power, how the top STR operators outpace the market.
Yeah. So Pricing Power, myself, most likely Kaye, Jasper, and then one or two of our revenue managers, most likely Miles, because he's a big part of the industry as well, and VRMA will be there to actually teach this. So it's going to be freaking powerful. I'm so excited. That's more of the stuff I want to do is actual workshops, deep dive, do this thing, get this result, leave with a result and refresh from there. So like jumping to the first event in IMN. And by the way, anyone who's going to be there, IMN in Park City, if you see me, stop me, let's connect. Ask me those two questions. I'll ask the same questions. Is we have a panel, and like the number one thing during the prep call was like, how do we make this exciting? How do we make it authentic? How do we have a conversation versus me as the moderator just asking questions and you giving a boring response? That's a shorter panel, but we're going to do our best to have an authentic conversation around branding and storytelling in short-term rentals. So yeah, I think it takes the intention to do that.
It really does. That'll be the theme word of the day is if you're going to attend events, which is a great idea because we're all just siloed in our businesses. Lots of us are working behind screens for way too much of our days. Getting in person and like sharing energy with a person really fast forwards the relationship building experience. So the more that you can do that, the faster that you're going to grow your network and the more opportunities are going to, fall in your lap, quote unquote. But it really does take that intention leading up to it. Yeah. Like we said, Eric's going to be at IMN and VRMA. IMN is soon. Does it start on Sunday?
I think Monday. I think I'm speaking Monday, and it goes Monday to Tuesday. So
okay. Yeah. And
whatever those dates are.
Podcast on Friday. So if you are listening to this and you're going to be there, make sure you find Eric and say hello and let him know that you are a listener. And then
the exact dates in Park City is July 21st to the 22nd. I speak Monday, the 21st.
Amazing. But you still have time to sign up and to plan to attend VRMA in Vegas. Definitely do that. Sign up for the Freewyld Foundry revenue management workshop. It's going to be incredible. Do you have any parting thoughts for our listener?
Look, at the end of the day I feel most of the people that listen to this podcast, they're entrepreneurs, right? They're either in their business, seasoned entrepreneurs growing their business, or they're just getting started. But it's all about like building businesses and growing themselves as individuals. And I think being in the room with people, your point of us being behind screens and all that stuff, to me, like it's awesome that we get to do this. I'm in Pennsylvania. We're having this podcast. We have our business meetings. It's amazing. but also there's something really special about being in the room, authentically connecting with people. So I would highly recommend, regardless if you guys are seasoned entrepreneurs or just getting started, is like, be intentional with showing up to these events and being clear on who are the top 5 people you need to meet in that room, right? What are the 5 things that you need to learn in that room? What's some value that you can bring to people? Think of like, what are you doing in your business that's working for you? It doesn't have to be groundbreaking, but like, what's working for you that you can share with somebody that can use it? I think going in there with that mindset, these events become a lot more valuable than just showing up and just sitting in the back of the room. I see people all the time like on their phones at the events, and it's just like, be present, network. You know, like for me, I'll go in there and I'll do sprints, right? I'll network for an hour, and then I'll take a half hour by myself to like connect on the phone or go for a walk or whatever. I'll come back and do another sprint, right? Versus just being there all the time. So yeah, that's what I would leave with. If you guys are going to be in Park City, come find me. Panel is on Monday, branding and storytelling. And then for Vegas, that's going to be a lot of fun. We're probably going to put together like a Freewyld connection event or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. One last point for me too. I heard somebody in our mastermind say on a recent podcast episode with Jasper that it was so cool that because he was part of a mastermind and then went to events, that's kind of the special recipe. Especially if you're introverted, or especially if you don't have a lot of experience with events, it can be really helpful to engage with these communities beforehand, because when you get there, you're already going to have friends and you're already going to know a few people. So that's kind of a bonus trick, if you will, to get involved with the industry and to make the most of these events.
Network before you network.
Exactly. Always be networking.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric. This was super insightful for me as well. I really appreciate you sharing all of your wisdom.
Of course. Yeah. Appreciate it. And yeah, excited to connect with everybody at those events. Also, we are expanding RPM, right? So just kind of throw that out there. We are ready to bring on more partners, and we're very, very excited to do so. So if you or somebody that you know that could use help in the revenue management side, send them over to freewildfoundry.com. No matter where you're at in the business, head over there. We have a way to help you regardless of the stage that you're at.
Heck yes. Jasper just shared in our last weekly meeting that while markets are noticeably down in most parts of the country and the world, we're seeing across our clients, I don't know, was it like 6 or 7% that markets were down? But our clients are up somewhere around 15%. I can't remember the exact numbers there, but I do remember the exact number that our impact number is around 24%. So if those clients hadn't been working with us, they would be seeing 24% less revenue. And that's across 1,600 listings, $60 million in bookings. So really, really powerful service that we are really excited to expand and help more operators see those kinds of results.
Yeah. I'm looking at the numbers right now. We have clients globally. Markets across the board are down on average 7%. The Freewyld impact as of July is 24.61%. Which is insane. So that means everyone that we're working with, average revenue growth is about 18% growth, which is nuts. So anyway, we're excited about these numbers. We're excited about our team, and we want to help more people. So if you guys are doing $1 million or more in revenue, it's about 15 listings or more, apply for the RPM. We'd love to just jump on and give you guys a free pricing audit, where our team will just go through and audit your pricing strategy and let you know if you're leaving money on the table. If you're doing $1 million or less, we have different ways that we can support you. So still go over to Freewyld Foundry. We have the mastermind. We have a course. So that's it. Just wanted to kind of see that out there. But Kaye, appreciate you. And I'm going to get out of this hot closet. Go play with some kids.
Thanks for listening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.